All right, so let's take a look at the hiring process that I go through. All right, so I love this book, The Ultimate Childcare Staffing Guide by Jessica Johnson, and she really outlines a lot of um, things that in a childcare setting you would be looking for when you're hiring. And so she has two parts here. She has the hiring and training, and each part has its own chapter. Why will employees want to work for you? Where to find qualified employees? How to attract A players? The interview process, onboarding and training, and then staff retention. Lay the foundation for keeping great employees, transparency, relationships, underlying values, systems and strategy, training, and when to let go. And then she has two things in her Appendix A and Appendix B, and I love these because um, she has created questions for you uh, that you can ask in your interview process. And then in her Appendix B, she outlines a plan that will help you to um, for your 90-day staff retention plan. And it's nice. Immediately hiring, day one, week two, um, the 90-day review. All of those things are very, very important when you are hiring your staff. And then she has a DVD here, the staff solution, hire, onboard, and train your A plus team. And this is an excellent video as a companion to this ultimate childcare staffing guide. And so, as I said, when you are hiring someone, you want to make sure that they agree with and believe in your mission and your vision. And so, the hiring process is so very important in your business. And another thing that you want to do is once you have hired your staff, you want to make sure that they are watching videos or some type of training process outside of um, your childcare business, but also inside. And so I have these videos here that I have my staff to watch, classroom moments and facing the challenge, working with children who use challenging behaviors. And then there's a disc one and a disc two for this one. And what I like about these videos is that these are real scenarios in the different classrooms. And so you'll see when you watch these videos, the teachers and how they actually deal with different behaviors. And I like that so that you can actually get an understanding of a classroom setting. You can get a sense of the environment, how the children behave, and how the teacher behaves. And so I also have one here, first steps supporting early language development and highly successful strategies to guide young children's behavior. You'll see here trainer vision, language literacy, focus on toddlers, and then language literacy, focus on pre-K and kindergarten. And then there's another one, toddler behavior and development at home with parents. And so, like I said, a lot of these, I love these because they are excellent in showing the scenarios in real life situations. And the ones that you saw that we're talking about being at home or showing parents in their own environment and how they deal with different behavioral challenges. And what you're going to see here is kind of a theme. And so uh, the behavior is not necessarily a bad thing, but you need to learn how to deal with some of those little personalities that come with you. And you want to make sure that your staff is equipped to deal with a lot of these things. A lot of what you see are just normal behaviors, but they can manifest themselves into something else if your staff does not know how to deal with it. And so I also have a staff binder. And in my binder, the first thing that the staff will see are my privacy policies. And you want to have a privacy policy so that staff will know um, what they can do and cannot do. And this is for protection for the families. And then I have my initial hiring, things to know, forms to fill out, mandatory trainings within the 90 days of hiring. And I also have my first 90 days as well. And then I go on to talk about just some different procedures, diapering and hand washing. And I also talk about, um, and these are the different steps for washing hands, diapering. And so all these things become very, very important when you are hiring a childcare staff. I also show them and train them in filling out the accident and injury to a child report. And so that becomes important as well. And so you want to make sure you have all these things in your binder so that your staff can see them and know what to expect and what your policies are in terms of them. And then my employee timesheet, I have an example of that, an example of my new employee application, and yours may be something very different, but this is something that I have. And then what you want to do is create a staff handbook. I know we talked about creating a parent handbook, but you want a staff handbook as well. And it will be similar in that you are discussing your policies, but you'll be talking about things like your history, your mission, your philosophy, the initial hiring. You'll be talking about attendance, the health and safety policies, curriculum planning, arrival and departure. And you also want to have in there about parent relationships, community resources, and all different types of things. And so this is a very thick document. This is about 72 pages. And so a lot of handbooks for staff are very meaty and include a lot of information. So what you want to do is a lot of staff, they're not going to read all of this at one time. And so you may want to develop what I do is called an email campaign. And an email campaign for my staff means that I'll take bits and pieces of my handbook and I will email it to them, maybe with questions or maybe with a video or something like that, that will explain a lot of what's in the handbook. And so that way they can understand it a little bit better when it's sent to them in smaller chunks. Okay. And so what I also do with the emergency, with my staff handbook, is I include my emergency plan. And so your emergency plan is very important because they need to know what their responsibility is in terms of dealing with an emergency. And so all of these things become very important. Bomb threat, anything. Okay, how to deal with a pandemic. So all of these things are in here. And then information on the curriculum that I use. I use GWIS Education, and so they're going to have the developmental stages here. And then I have what their role is, what the standards are. And so your staff, they need to know all of this information and just their role. Make sure you give them as much information as possible. And you want to also review these with them. So you may want to have staff meetings, and especially when you first hire someone, you want to make sure that they are implementing your policies and your procedures. And then you want to make sure they have a calendar of your closings. And then the different training. Make sure you put your training information in here. One of the things we have to do are the first aid, CPR, child development. And so I have our training book in here. And so they'll know the dates and an explanation of what the training is about, what time. Okay, and here are my emergency procedures. And so the procedures outline exactly what to do. And so they need to know that if something happens, how to call 911, when to call 911, all that's important. And then what I also do in this staff handbook is I put in my parent handbook, and so that they'll have an understanding of what my policies and procedures are for my parents too. Okay, and like I said, create perhaps an email campaign or little videos that you can send to your staff so that they'll know what's going on. And this is information on my mentoring program. So I have a mentoring program for girls um, who are 16 to 18, and this outlines what I have for them as well. So, which is similar. They normally come on as assistants, and it's really a good way of having them have a mentor to teach them if they want to be in the early childhood education program, or they want to go on to be teachers, or whatever the case may be. So you want to make sure that you equip your staff so that they will know what your business is all about. And then the last thing that I have is just a notebook. And as you can see, it says reflective journal. And a reflective journal is something that you want your staff to keep. And there are certain questions that I may ask and that they can put in their reflective journal. Or the questions could be a guide as to how they can sort of reflect on some of the things that they were doing that day, what they may do differently, maybe what action they would have taken. So you want to make sure that your staff knows exactly what your expectations are, and also that they understand and they have a clear direction of your goals and your mission and your vision for your business. So I hope this has been helpful to you. Um, Whatever you're doing in your childcare to help with your staff, I would love to hear about that. So leave your comments and make sure you subscribe so you can get some more of this good information. And I will see you in the next video.